we're going to have a discussion today. I'm joined by Ian Rogers of Ledger. Grateful for him sparing a few minutes of his time today. And what we want to really try and do is look for what NFTs may present opportunities for the hospitality industry and pubs in general. Let's jump in, Ian, and may I ask you just to do a quick intro, just give us a bit of a background about yourself, Ian.
Sure. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Ledger, and what that means is that I look after the consumer side of the business. And we call it Experience Officer because we sell these little devices, but like when you buy, an iPhone, when you buy one of these, you're not just buying a piece of hardware, you're participating in an ecosystem where between the Nano device and Ledger Live, you get secure access to the world of cryptocurrency. These devices are great, but the same thing that makes them great, it was what makes them kind of unsuitable for really holding value, because you update them all the time, they can be compromised, and you don't want to put that kind of value into a software wallet. So you really need hardware to protect that value. So that's what we do on the Ledger side. Before that, I spent 5 years as a Chief Digital Officer at LVMH here in Paris. And before that, I spent 20 years in the digital music business. We had a popular MP3 player in the late 90s called Winamp. I ran Yahoo Music for a while. I was a CEO of Beats Music with Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre and others, Trent Reznor, most notably, in my view. Also looked after the music business, the streaming music business at Apple when we built Apple Music. So that's my background.
There's a lot of experience in there then, Ian.
Something. There's something. I've lived, I'll tell you that.
So we're going to talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and also there's fungible tokens. So for anybody that's not aware of those terms, could you just give us a quick overview of the meaning of those and some examples, please, Ian?
Sure. Yeah, so what they mean by non-fungible is that the item is really unique. For example, if I owe you $10, you don't care which $10 I give you. You just want $10 of value. And so that's the same with, say something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. They're fungible because you don't care which Bitcoin you get. You just want the value. Now, on the other hand, if I'm giving you a photograph, and that photograph is, in a part of a series, it might be number 1 of 10. Well, you want number 1 of 10 if that's what I've sold you, not 1 of the 10. You want number 1 of 10, and that's what non-fungible means. So, the real innovation that we have here at the moment is that we now have the capability to create digital scarcity. So you should really think of it in that kind of a broad term, because the ideas that we come up with are going to be creative ideas that are based off of that. I think, really, all of these things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera, are basically just kind of variations on that capability. We have a way to do, to do digital scarcity in a way that doesn't require a central authority to be the center of trust.
Yeah.
Okay, now what do we do with that? And non-fungible tokens is just kind of one of those applications, in the same way that Bitcoin is one application of that kind of new technical digital capability.
So some examples, Ian. With I've seen it with art. I've seen gamers using NFTs, and I've also, one of the most high-profile things recently. I've read that NFTs have been out since about 2012. Something called colored coins. But of course, most people won't have heard about it until recently with Jack Dorsey's tweet, which he sold for $2.9 million. Didn't he? And then there's been a piece of art sold for 69 million. But of course, there's other artists and digital producers that are selling their artwork, and music and games for literally hundreds and thousands of pounds, aren't there, at the moment?
Yeah, there's really a lot going on, and I think maybe if you start with kind of the most mainstream thing, it would be NBA Top Shots, which is For fans of basketball, then it's basically basketball trading cards. There's a company here in Paris called So Rare, which is doing similar things with football. But I think that's easy for people to understand because, you go, well, of course there's going to be digital trading cards. People like trading cards. You don't, if most of us in our life have tried to get our heads around somebody who collects baseball cards or collects stamps, or collects precious moments figurines. I don't know, like we know many, we all know collectors is a simple way to put it. And I think also like we lead digital lives. So I don't think it's surprising at all that people would want to collect in a digital world. I mean, look at photographs and the way that has gone. I mean, I used to take photos with a 35 millimeter camera and then, spend a lot of money and energy getting them developed so that the 5 people who come to my apartment can see them. But, now we live in a world where, you take a photo and hundreds of people, if not millions of people can see your photograph 5 minutes later, depending on how many followers you happen to have on Instagram or on TikTok, right? So I think that for human beings who live in that world, having kind of digital collections is, it makes a lot of sense. It's not surprising. I think the things I like to think about, though, are places where, this might have other interesting uses. I think the fact that So Rare is using these to play kind of fantasy football type of games is really interesting. I think, when you look at other kind of various forms of art, think about, how transformative this could be in the world of tattoo art, where, tattoo art doesn't really have much of a resale value, I hope. But there are new models that can be applied. And so I really love thinking about these things where, the kind of the digital version can actually be better than the physical version. I belong to a great vinyl subscription service called Vinyl Me Please. And they send a piece of art every month with the art. And it's actually separate from the album art. It's actually an original piece of art for subscribers. I really, as a long time, I don't even know how long, 7 years maybe, subscriber to Vinyl Me Please, where I'm getting 3 albums a month. I would love to have a place where all of that art was collected digitally. I would love that, just as somebody who's like proud of my vinyl collection, but nobody ever comes to see it. Like nobody comes to my house to see my vinyl collection, or maybe, the same amount of people who used to come see my photos in the 90s, right? So I think that there are lots of applications that you can imagine where there's a lot of utility. It's not just like, oh, I was going to buy a piece of art to hang on my wall, but no, now I'm buying art on my computer. I think that that's kind of an oversimplification of it. Closing the door so the piano lesson is not part of what we're doing.
I mean, music, we would all relate to music being digital. It's been digitized for a while now, hasn't it? And with the streaming, as you mentioned, Spotify or wherever else, and Apple downloading music. We've got films through Netflix and the likes on TV, and we're now talking about art. I've got an interest in trying to explore how it can be used to brick and mortar businesses, things that they may do, but they can digitize, and specifically today, trying with your help just to come up with some ideas that pubs and hospitality, because they certainly need to try and add revenue streams into their business. There's a lot that aren't going to open, as you'll know. I guess it's the same across the world, isn't it? It's not just the British pub here in England, but the hospitality. There's a lot not going to be opening up again. There's a lot that had to cut back the businesses that are going to be starting from a lower base again, and there's some that are going to take a long time to pay off the loans that they've taken on just to keep themselves going. So I guess part of what I'm trying to do with my team is look for innovative ways that we can that they can add. So when we think about the pubs and the bars, the restaurants, the hospitality sort of industries, Ian, what sort of things could you sort of come out with sort of ideas? I mean, I wrote a list of things that the brick and mortar, the traditional businesses do. They're serving drinks, different wines, beers. I'm thinking about the Cascales and things like that, that's got a following, because similar to art and music and the things that you've just mentioned, that there's some really passionate people when it comes to beer and food, those sorts of experiences. And I'm thinking, what is there in there that you can digitize? I mean, some of the things where we've got some pubs and restaurants where they've got a tremendous chef that makes his own sauces and things. As an example, an extra profit center could be bottling those sauces, although the customers are having those sauces or special dishes as part of their meal. They can bottle those and they can sell them as an add-on, when they go and pay for the bill or whatever. And I'm thinking about, I remember as a youngster going into the pub, at 16, 17, before we should, beer mats. They were a craze with collecting. Just talking about what you were saying is cards and things, and so I guess I'm rattling my brain to try and come up with some specifics that we could start talking to pubs and restaurants, and giving them the idea of how they can take things that probably they're already doing, or they're a bit like the musician that comes in, and the artist, the local painters, they put artwork, pictures on the walls. I don't know if they do in France. I'm sure they do, where people are coming and dining, but the local artist got his wares up, and it's probably £2,500, £200 for a painting. But at least it's a place, an environment that different local people, communities can, if you like, get their offer out there. So I guess, with your insights, I'm trying to come up with a list of things that probably pubs and restaurants, as I say, could start to explore, that they could digitize, that, they've probably got a following in their beer or the food and such like, that there's a digital NFT there, that maybe there's enough interest in people that would buy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be creative ideas that end up driving this. And so I think the ideas that I have will maybe be directional, but not the ones that are going to win the day, because someone's going to know like exactly the right way to engage with their customer, and they're going to they're going to nail it. I think. But what I would say is, the way that I would think about it is, the music example is a good one. I think if you look at the history of music consumption has always moved toward convenience, but music collection has moved toward quality, right? We've gone, so we've built a big vinyl industry in the shadow of a digital subscription business.
Yeah.
So it would be wrong to think that it's all one or all the other, right? I mean, people always like to go, oh, nobody buys music anymore. Well, what about this, billion plus vinyl business sitting over here? Like, oh, okay, that doesn't really fit with my model. Or, like everybody wants like high quality music. Well, no, they don't, because you have, hundreds of millions of people subscribing or watching on YouTube at very low quality. And then you have far fewer people collecting 180 gram vinyl, right? So I think the important thing to do is to just remember that both of these worlds exist, and they're not mutually exclusive. I listen to Apple Music on Sonos. I also buy a lot of vinyl. I'm a normal human being, and this is what, normal human beings, can be in both camps. They can love convenience. They can also like to collect something, right? So I really would think on the NFT side, I would think about your customers as the collectors, or the small percentage of your customers who are the collectors. The people who might have like the T-shirt of the pub, or or like you said, collecting, the coasters, or the keychains, or whatever that is. I think another angle to think about, and then you could offer something, you could offer them some value in return for that. Like maybe they get, an NFT every time they buy you use it like a loyalty card, right? So instead of having a punch card, have an NFT collection. I think that the business actually needs to, or the technology needs to mature a little bit before that's a good idea. Because like, to do it right now, your customers will be like, wait, what? I have to have a wallet? How do I do that? Like, or, you're doing it with a partner who's going to charge you every time you do it. And whereas right now, for taking a ring hole punch and a piece of cardboard, there's not really a cost, but, there would be a cost. Kind of implementing this technically. So maybe it's not time for that yet, but I think that's certainly, that's certainly interesting. I think the idea that you were exploring about kind of having your pub as an art space is exactly the right direction. And let's be honest, like, we are, we don't need to, to go out into the world to buy things, to buy alcohol, to spend time with friends. Like if the last year and a half has proved anything to us, it's that, I can stand in my house and you can, sit in your house and we can have a conversation and I could be drinking a beer and you could be drinking a beer and, but we go into the real world for something else.
Yeah.
Like I really believe that in-person experiences will be even more premium. We'll be willing to pay more for them because they're more special. At the same time, anything that's not special is going to go away.
Yeah.
So I think to the degree that, it is a special experience where maybe there is, an art show that works with augmented reality, again, maybe that's not what, the average pub goer wants, but I think that art galleries will start to have that, and to your point, there's already, a crossover, between like the role that a pub plays in the local community and what like the role an art gallery plays in a local community, whether it's, performance space or kind of gallery space or whatever. So there are definitely interesting things to explore there, I would say as well. And then I would say, there's another interesting idea that comes to mind though, which is, I think finally this NFT thing generally is going to make the notion of a metaverse quite real. So
What
if
do you mean
I
by that,
own,
Ian?
what's up?
What do you mean by that meta
I
universe?
mean, an actual, I mean, Minecraft for adults, basically. Like, so if I owned a pub, I would right now go stake out that claim, that real estate in one of these metaverses. And I don't even know which one I would use. I'd probably use one of either Crypto Voxels or Decentraland, but that is a off the cuff, unresearched, statement. But
So you
and
create
then you
yourself a pub ultimately in a
probably try
digital
to
world.
figure out like what is it that I provide to a community and why can't I provide that to a digital community?
Yeah.
You know, we're spending, I was just with my 14-year-old a couple weeks ago watching her thinking she lives in metaverses. She's not with her friends physically, but she's with them all the time.
Mm.
Whether it's a group chat text thread or the kind of 3-hour session in Minecraft at 10
Yeah.
p starting at 10 p.m. She is at what where like by the way FaceTime is on and Minecraft is on at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like the younger generations are completely comfortable being together without being in the same physical space.
Yeah.
So I think it's reasonable to ask, okay, do I have a place in that world? And if you look at what's going on in something like Crypto Voxels or Decentraland, it's really interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's early days. But that's why I say like go buy a plot of land in there and play around with it. See what happens. Maybe it's nothing for 2 years. Maybe you're the first. Maybe you're the first to do, X, Y, or Z and you become, one of the most popular hangouts there. Maybe you host parties or art openings or concerts or something in that space.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but that would be the kind of the final idea that I throw out there.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, Ian, because of course, people, as things happen, new technology comes along. A lot of what you're talking about would be a bit gobbledygook to a lot of people because there's that catch up, isn't there, with people understanding. I know I found it the first time I got into crypto. You're really at a loss, and then there's a few things that start to make sense. Then all of a sudden, over a period of time, you feel competent at it, don't you? But all takes a bit of time.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and I think and we're definitely early in this. I mean, I think the right way to think about this is this is 1997, and it's the internet. And
Yeah.
remember that even in 2007, you couldn't have really predicted that the iPhone was going to come in a year and change the world.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, we've got this is a 10-year road
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
here. This isn't all happening tomorrow. it's a 10-year road between now and when you're like, oh yeah, we got to remember what it was like in 1997 when we talked about the internet, and then what it was like in 2017.
Yeah,
And that's the difference between today and 20 years from now.
yeah. Everything's moving so quickly, isn't it? It's literally we're living in a world where we're behind, just one step behind the developers. Because it's a bit like schools when you relate
Yeah,
things to
no, it's true.
schools that you used to have a curriculum that would change every 5 or 10 years even, but now everything's happening literally changing
Yeah,
by the hour, isn't it? When you go online now, everything is like, a screen looks one what, you're in a piece of software and it's changed the next time you log in, and we're in that world now, aren't we? But
yeah,
so it takes a bit of keeping up, catching up, that
yeah.
continual
And I think
learning.
this is also where you just have to be willing to like wade in, and
Just
say,
get in there and explore.
I'm going to try it. That's why if I definitely would, if I could, I would say, if I could say to you and to your colleagues, just try something.
Yeah,
Just no, don't, like, perfect is the enemy of good.
yeah.
Just try something. Just like come up with your best idea. Know that it's wrong because it is for sure wrong. Try it, learn from it, try the next idea. And also go into Decentraland and wander around and try, okay, I want to buy a bar. It costs what? Oh my God, why? Well, what if I buy over here? Well, why wouldn't I want to buy? I just, it's like, you got to get in the game at some point. And, if you just kind of wait until it presents itself to you, uh, you know, somebody who got in the game today is going to beat you at that one.
Yeah, it's a good
I would
expression. Get in the game today.
say, yeah, yeah, just try something.
Yeah,
I always say, I mean, you guys, I'm not the first person to say this, but I think it's really true in this space. I mean, we're going to get it wrong, so we might as well get started,
yeah, yeah. It's good
because,
expression.
we were definitely going to get it wrong. So let's just try something, and, then we'll be that much smarter tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Ian, I'm conscious of time.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be on another call. I
Yeah,
apologize.
thank you ever so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Thanks for your insights.
Of course, yeah. Great to meet you. Good
Uh,
luck. Let me know what you come up with. I want to see
yeah,
it.
and to more success at Ledger.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.